Good morning and good afternoon to everyone else. This is Jeff Gamble, the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. We are getting started and rolling here. Today is law number 10. Law number 10, law of connection. So with that, we're going to grab a couple people on here. Welcome, Joyce. Welcome, Denise. And Bess. Welcome, welcome. From Austin, Texas. Yeah, please write in where you're coming in from. Hi, Lori. Hello, hello. Charlie's with us.
Yes. Guess why? Because today is the law of connection, like Jeff said. Heard you say.
Yep.
And this guy is my best teacher and connector, example of that. So welcome everybody, Denise and Joyce and everybody. And yeah, Joyce, how do you do that? You're the first one to hop on all the time. So welcome. We are, law number 10 of the 21 Irrefutable Laws by John Maxwell. We are Bess McCarty of MLM Millionaire Club School for Network Marketers and Jeffrey David Gamble of My Leadership Network. Also certified John Maxwell trainer. Also, he is a leader and an entrepreneur, a leader of many businesses. So what he's saying is from experience, and he's a great role model from this. And he values this so much that he took the time and expense to become a John Maxwell trainer. So he has tons of stories about all of these things. I'm glad to partner with Jeff to bring you these generic daily lunchtime, noon Eastern time trainings that you can watch on the MLM, the Facebook group, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, Facebook group, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Our purpose, to help people grow, to educate, empower, and equip entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. So grab a pen and paper, because look for one thing today that you can take away and use. We always want to upgrade ourselves. So if we just upgrade ourselves 1% today and every day, that's 365. We're 300 times better at the end of the year, right? So let's just let us make this our 1% today. Find one thing that you can write down and use. Oh, yes. And if you're watching the replay, please type in replay, because we'd like to thank you. We'd like to also hear where you're from. So I'll turn it to Jeff.
Awesome. So what we're going to go over today is that leaders attract people like themselves. And we've learned this from the law of magnetism. But how do they attract leaders like themselves? It says the heart comes first. You must connect on an emotional level. Inside of direct sales, we like to say, people do business with people they know, people they like, and people they trust. So how do you build that quickly? How do you build that in the sit down, or how do you build that over the phone? How do you build that kind of connection with people quickly? Rich is with us. What's happening? Becky, sorry, I can't talk. Becky's with us as well. How do you build that type of connection quickly and keep it? There are many ways to do this. And one of the things we're going to talk about, not necessarily go into major depth here, Beth is here, is talking about personalities and understanding the 4 dynamics of the personalities. We don't have enough time to go into it here, but that's just one of the ways. Being able to understand people at a deeper level is understanding how they think, how they process, what is important to them. So John goes on to say, learning the law of connection. He says, connect with yourself first. He says, Kevin, the author of Aspire, has 4 belief statements. He said, number 1 is I'm worthy. And obviously, if you don't think you're worthy yourself, it's very hard to connect with other people, because most people spend the entire conversation worrying about who they are, and worrying about, how they're coming across, and not really taking the time to worry about the other person. Number 2, I'm capable. Capable is more like a skill. You're physically capable, you're mentally capable, you're emotionally capable to handle things. And sometimes you're the first 2, but you're not the third. And I mean that because certain times we're going through stuff, and emotionally, if you're messed up, if you're going through a relationship, if you're going through a health crisis with family, if somebody riles you up, what I found is very hard to connect with other people when emotionally you're not there. Number 3, am I deserving? You know, I believe everybody, you know, is deserving on the planet of being able to connect with people. James, what's happening? Everybody's, you know, has the capability of being able to connect with people, and they're deserving. But certain people don't believe that because of their upbringing, because of certain things. You know, certain people are told because of where they live or where they grew up, or the friends that they have, or the friends that they used to have, or things they used to do, that they're just not deserving of these type of connections. Oh, you're never going to find somebody. Oh, you know, and I'm talking about in life, you know, people will have this, you know, oh, you're never going to find somebody, as opposed to in business, you're never going to find somebody. When you're told that all the time about relationships and about family, imagine how that's going to affect your business. And then number 4, I trust myself. You know, I trust myself with these relationships. Certain people, because things have always fallen apart in the past, they don't trust themselves. So that's a whole nother wall of stuff to get through. And that's really, you know, more where the therapy comes in, the psychology side comes in. And that's why this kind of lesson is so important. And this is the stuff that actually, what I would say, either stops you or propels you inside of direct sales. Not so much how many people you talk to, although the number of people you talk to will give you great perspective on all this. Living the law of connection. We have to touch a heart before we ask for a hand. So, you know, get to know somebody before you start asking to do something. We talked about a profile, a personal profile, which I found on my computer, and I'm editing so that way it has all the right stuff. But a personal profile is really good. It has a list of questions in the order. When I sit down with somebody, there's certain questions that I want to ask them. For instance, we go through form or Ford, family, occupation, recreation, the message, or the dream. These are things that we actually walk through and go through. So you want to really have that down, and you want to understand that. Those are questions I ask every single time. It's how I get to know somebody. It's the process in which I build to get to know, like, and trust somebody. It makes it very easy. And when you do it over and over again, then it becomes second nature. You're able to pick up on all the other things that are happening in the conversation rather than just the conversation. Most people, you know, are just waiting for the other person to stop talking to get their words out. Some people don't wait for the other person to stop talking. They just talk right over the top of them. So that's, you know, something to learn. It says the first heart we have to touch is our own, meaning we kind of have to go at it with, I think what he's saying is you have to go at it with the right objective in mind. Hey, I'm here to help this person, not I'm here to get across my point. A friend of mine said MLM people are pretty funny nowadays. This is a friend of mine who's a $500,000 earner. He just put this on the Facebook wall, and he's like, you know, in this business, it's all about connection and talking to people. And, you know, nowadays it's like, hey, dude, do you want to look at my thing? No. Okay, we should stay in touch. And you never hear from them again. He's like, there's a lot of fake crap out there would be the best way to put it. There's a lot of fake people. There's a lot of fake contacts, people who are not really genuinely interested in meeting or talking to somebody. They're just interested in their objective and their objective only. The only reason they're in the conversation is to get something, and they have nothing to give. And these people are pretty easy to pick out because they don't have a lot of friends around them. And you know, when they ask for help, they're like, I just can't get anybody to help me. Well, there's a reason why. And you should, you know, if that's you, you need to look into that. And that was me. You know, I had this all messed up at the beginning. We cannot lead others to places we've never been ourselves. So it's very hard to teach this lesson of connecting with people if you can't connect with people. I had a wonderful person on my team. This was years ago. And we sat down, and we were at a Panera Bread. I remember it was on the east side of Indianapolis, 56 and Post. And she's like, that person over there looks really sharp. I should go contact them. I'm like, okay. So she goes over, and there's conversation, and she comes back. And she's like, they're not interested. I was like, okay. And I just, for some reason, I thought I had enough of a relationship with that I could kind of teach this lesson. I was like, awesome. I was like, what do they do for work? I don't know. How long have they done it? I don't know. Are they from Indianapolis? I don't know. I said, are they or are they just kind of hanging out here? I don't know. I said, what did you talk to them about? She introduced herself and tried to sell. I said, do you even have this person's name? She's like, no, I forgot that too. I'm like, do you understand why they probably rejected you? And she's like, no. I mean, she had no clue. I'm like, do you understand that you didn't find out anything about them at all? Like you other than what they're wearing currently, you probably couldn't tell me a single thing about this person. Oh, I never even thought about it. Why? Because most people are on a mission for themselves only. And that's part of what's missing is, you know, you're not really in the game, if that's a way to put it. Hi, Shelly. Or Sarah, how are you? So, you know, that's something to work on. Know your giftedness or your purpose. Knowing your giftedness or your purpose or kind of your DNA of who you are and how you go about things. This is important. This is when we talk about getting into the personalities. When you get into the full 4 personalities and you find out that the D type are looking for control and making decisions. The I type are basically looking for, you know, inspiration and fun. The S type is looking for, you know, sincere, genuine conversation, something to get into. You know, these are kind of things that you want to figure out and know. The last is the C type. The C type are looking for correct answers and the way to go about it. Don, how are you? So here's the thing. List your greatest successes. List your strengths. List your greatest successes. List your strengths. List your disappointments or setbacks. And he said, find commonality in the list, you know, and I think this is really easy. Sitting down with somebody who understands personalities and understands them well can not only identify who you are, what your strengths are, what you're good at, maybe what you're not good at. But here's another thing. When it's drawn out properly, and this is something, you know, that this is one of the main topics I plan on doing at the team event, is being able to describe these 4 personalities and understanding the other 3. When you understand the other 3 and you're able to identify the main drive behind each person's personalities, now you know exactly. I mean, this is actually good and bad information, and here's why it's good and bad. If you use it for good, it's amazing. The problem is that all communication is manipulative. And a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, well, you know, certain people just manipulate. I said, well, all communication is manipulative. If you teach your kid not to put the hand on the stove and burn his hand, that's manipulative conversation. The problem is it good for the overall, or is it good just for you? That's where it becomes self-manipulative versus, you know, is it manipulation for the overall good of the conversation or whatever. The problem is this information can be dangerous in the hands of somebody who doesn't have it out good for everybody, you know, dangerous in the hand of somebody who is, you know, self-centered, who is there to take advantage. But used for good, it's amazing what you're able to accomplish. You're able to sway, and I think this is a dangerous way to put it, but it's absolutely true. You could sell anybody anything if you understand this correctly and know how to use it. So I say that with, you know, caution. It's not something to learn to always get your way, but once you learn it, you can always get your way, which is kind of cool. How do you connect? So this is part of it, is understanding people's personalities. So know your enthusiasm or your passion is another key to making this work, to connecting with people. Once you know what you're into, here's the thing. Knowing what you're into is great, but it's better to know what other people are into. It's better to know what their dream is, what their drive is, the kind of house that they want to live in, the music that they like, the movies that they like. That's what people like to talk about. And your goal is to find out the stuff they like. That's how you're really going to connect with them. Getting people to dream. Where are you going to be in 2 to 5 years? You know, if you're on this path, where do you see yourself ending up? What would that life look like? What would be the best life? You know, we used to write down column A, column B, and column C. Column A is where you're currently at. You know, we wrote down their house and their car, their savings account, their investment account, what kind of trips they take, their current lifestyle, you know, the friends they have, the neighborhood they live in, the recreational events they get to do. What does their current life look like right now? And then column B is where they're going to be in 5 years if they do nothing to change. You know, if they do nothing to change, they have no extra, meaning they don't build their direct sales company. They just kind of go on as they're going on. Where are they going to be? What is that car going to look like? What is that house going to look like? You know, are the wheels falling off? Are the gutters falling off? Do they have to do a bunch of maintenance? Is the belt loop one level bigger? You know, where are they going to be in 5 years? And then C is, what is the best? What would be the best scenario? You know, if you're able to hit 6 figures, if you're able to hit $250,000, if you're able to hit $500,000 over the next 5 years, learning some of these lessons, doing these things, what would the best life look like? And then, you know, the friend of mine that used to teach this, he would write it all down. That's kind of how he would start out. He's like, I want to talk to you about these things, you know, options A, options B, and option C. And then he just asked people, he's like, out of option B and option C, which life do you want? You know, one of them requires you to basically do nothing, and the other one's going to require you to do a lot. Which life do you want? It was a really powerful way to get started, and connect with people. I'll give you another connection that was really something that I used to do, that I was trying to teach. I guess I was trying to teach. I was just, you know, talking with a good friend of mine that's been in direct sales now for 15 years with the same company. He's been with the same company the whole time. Has about 25,000 people on his team, which is pretty solid. His residual alone would allow them to retire right now. So he's one of those living testimonies that you don't have to be a gazillionaire, but you can build something solid over a 10, 15-year period of time and be able to walk away. And I said, you know, I used to start out at the beginning of the meeting because we were driving through Indiana. I was picking him up, and we looked up at the billboard, and the billboard actually had the lottery on it. And I can't remember, it was like 70 million for one thing and 300 million for the other. I said, you know, I used to go and buy a lottery ticket, and I'd pull the lottery ticket out at the very beginning of the meeting. And I would say, you know, what is this? And everybody's like, it's a lottery ticket. And I was like, what do you do with it? And they're like, well, you know, normally you buy it and just look at it and you wait for the day to click over. I said, you know, here's why I realized it's so easy to get people to buy lottery tickets, because really it's a piece of paper. What's the likelihood of winning? And everybody's like, 0. I said, so why do you buy it? You know, if the likelihood is that low, why would you even buy it? I said, here's what you're doing. You're spending $2 to dream. And they were like, you know, they all looked at me kind of like Charlie, like when you're like, are you hungry? And they're all, you know, their ears get perk up. They're like, oh, I'm not sure what you mean. Charlie, right? He's like, just let me down. So I would go into describing this to people. I was like, so you dream, right? Like, what kind of house would you get? And you dream, like, what kind of life would you live? And you dream all this. And I said, the reality is, at the end, what you realize is there was no shot at doing it with that lottery ticket. But I have a question for you. If we could show you a way where you could have that life and you could work for it and it was real, it's not a lottery ticket, it's a real, you know, scenario. Would you be willing to work for that lifestyle, or do you just want to buy a lottery ticket once a week and dream until they actually pop your bubble by giving the numbers out that's not you? And he's like, wow, that's really, and we were in the way that he put it, I can't describe everything that he said, but he said, wow, that really connects with people, is kind of what he was talking about. And I said, yeah, that's the point of doing it, is it's so relatable to so many people. So what are some things that you could do regardless of the pay? You know, so passion-wise, what are some things you could do regardless of the pay to be able to connect with people? What are things that make you laugh? These are the things, you know, what are the things that make you happy? These are the things you want to connect with people on, because you can stir up emotion that's really good. You know, like I ask people, you know, one of my questions is, what are your favorite movies? What's your favorite book you've read? You know, these are just some topics that I like doing when I sit down and talk with somebody. Live through your giftedness and enthusiasm, plan and executed, you know, combination of purpose and passion. And I think that's where asking people those questions in that certain order, you know, when you use form or you use forward, you're able to ask people those questions in that certain order to produce the result you want on the other end, where people are like, I've never had people ask me these kind of questions to know this much about me. And How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. People like dealing with people who ask them questions. People like people who get them to talk. That's just how it works. So rather than going against psychology and try to be a good salesperson, go with psychology, and you can kind of say less and get a whole lot more done. True success is living our purpose with our passion through a plan. You know, execution, knowing that it's working. You know, I always ask my mentor, David Bird, well, how do you know something's working? He's like, results. He's like, if something's working, you'll see results. He's like, doing the right thing long enough over the right period of time with the right plan will produce results. So if you've been doing something for a long time that is not producing results, you need to check the game plan and you need to ask, hey, maybe I have something wrong. Maybe I have something out of order. And guys, it can be this small of a thing that's out of order. Everything else can be right. And I'll give you, for instance, of how this is and how damaging, and this is why I use some of the things I do. One of the businesses we own is a holistic health practice. So we have seven people who work with us, you know, and then there's Brandy and I on top of that. So in this specific, and I handle all the advertising. So I was like, look, I've set up a certain way to answer these ads. And if you answer these ads in this certain order, this is what happens. And I know what happens with everybody. This happens is eventually people get away from the script and they stop using the exact words and they'll reorganize, reorder, whatever. And one of the people that works with us was not getting it. Like they just weren't bringing people in, and everybody else seemed to be doing okay. And this is when we were smaller. There were only 4 of us at the time, myself, Brandy, her, and Amy. And all of a sudden we brought a new person in. And this is where one new person on your team can change everything. This girl comes in and starts out producing everybody 2 to 1. Then all of a sudden 3 to 1. And in some days 4 to 1. She was walking out of our studio with somewhere between $400 to $800 a day, cash. Everybody's like, what is she doing? I don't understand. There were 2 things about this particular person. She no longer works with us because she moved. But there's 2 things about this particular person that prove not only direct sales and passion, but also the law of connection and being able to do it right. She was willing to do whatever it took simply because she was the sole money earner for her entire family. Unfortunately, her husband was in immigration status. He couldn't physically work and he had a job. It's crazy. He was a PhD. So he could only get certain, you know, he was looking for a certain job and his paperwork wasn't done yet. Had 2 kids. One of them had to be on a certain medication and she was diabetic. She had no car. So she took a bus to connect to another bus to take an Uber to get here. So it was 2 hours and 20 minutes to our office. It was 2 hours and 20 minutes back. She spent 5 hours a day traveling. Now, we didn't know this because she hid it from us because she thought if I tell them, they won't hire me. If I tell them how hard it is just to get here, they won't help me. So we basically taught her not only how to answer the ads, which she picked up on very quickly, we taught her how to self-produce more leads through kind of an advertising strategy. All of a sudden, in like 3 days, she went from 1 or 2 people coming in to 4 to 8 people coming in back to back to back. Now, we didn't learn about any of this until she came out of maybe her 6th appointment one day and she just dropped. She collapsed onto our couch and we're like, what is going on? And Brandy runs in and grabs me and she's like, Lisa just collapsed. You know, she's not like responding. And we go in there and come to find out she's diabetic. She hadn't eaten. Her sugar, you know, we had to ask her. I said, is your sugar low, high? She's like, it's low. She crashed because she hadn't eaten. So we were smart enough to know to go grab, you know, orange juice and a cookie. And she started coming back and we had somebody cover. And that's where, because she wasn't all there, she started basically responding us and telling us what's going on. We kind of grasp what she's doing. And finally, I kind of get some animosity from one of the other girls. This one particular that was kind of upset that she was getting so many deals. She's like, well, I just don't understand how she brings so many people in. And I was like, she's following exactly what to do and she doesn't deviate at all. And she's doing more of it because she has to. I said, you know, unfortunately, she has to do it because of these circumstances. I said, you really don't need the money. You're living at home. You have another career. You have another job. So it's not as important to you to do this. We finally looked at the lead system and how she was responding. Guys, it all came down to one word. She changed one word in the scenario. And here's what she said. That can't be it. It can't be the reason. That can't be it. I'm saying exactly what she's saying. I'm like, no, you're not saying exactly. You changed one word. And words have meaning, right? Words have big meaning. In fact, if I say the word Ferrari to everybody here, the word Ferrari, most people will think of a picture in their head. It turns into a picture. And I ask people, you know, in a seminar setting, this is a good psychological, you know, way to figure this out for people. I said, what color are you thinking? And most people are like red, because most people have seen a red Ferrari. Some people say yellow, some people say black. I said, but what if I was talking about the symbol of Ferrari? What is it and what color is it? And people are like, most people don't even know the symbol of Ferrari. But I said, do you see how important it is? You made a judgment call. You already told me what I was thinking about was red, when really what I was talking about was the horse, the stallion that Ferrari represents. And the color of it is usually silver on the car. Same thing is true. Because she had always heard Ferrari and Ferrari's red, she changed it to her liking rather than what everybody else is visualizing. She changed one word. She switched it back to the way that we originally gave it to her. All of a sudden, our friend who was not doing very well, who was thinking about quitting, I mean, same scenario in direct sales, right? It's not working, so I'm quitting. I'm not getting anybody, so I'm quitting. I'm not getting in front of people. I'm not quitting because I'm doing it my way rather than the way that we've been asked to do it. Changed one word. All of a sudden starts closing 2 deals, 3 deals, 4 deals. Went from basically zero to about $5,000 a month part-time. Was doing right around $1,000 before that, you know, when she was going to quit. Goes to $5,000, $4,000 to $5,000 a month by changing one word in the order. So that's kind of the importance about, you know, not only connection, how people see things, being in business, how it works. This is why this information is so important, is because you can be that close off by a word and change everything. Also, it was kind of interesting for us to learn that I could bring one person into the organization and affect the entire organization. Every one of us started doing better once we learned Lisa's story and found out what was going on. So let's wrap this up. Leading others to the law of connection. Communicate with openness and sincerity. Choose candor and caring as tools to help you balance. You know, don't beat people up with the information. You know, sit down and help them figure it out. Authenticity is a trait people are looking for. Being real, being who you are, not having to dress it up to impress, but just being who you are. Some people, they're like, if I was who I am, that would be a bad thing. So I would say change, you know, work on that. Know your audience. Oh, that's huge. Know your audience. Who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? That's kind of personality, age group, generation. Who are you talking to? Number 2, or that is number 2. I'm sorry. Number 1 was communicate with openness and sincerity. Number 2, know your audience. Number 3, live your message. If you're telling people to do something, do it yourself. That'd be a good idea, because especially in direct sales, because it's a monkey see, monkey do business. You know, you do it and then they do it. In fact, it's worse than that. You do it and they judge you based on how well you're doing it, and they will probably do half of what you're doing. So if you say contact 2 a day, and you're a leader, actually contact 2 a day or present to 2 people a day is actually not accurate if you want your team to do 2 a day. It's not accurate. You have to do twice that many. Why? Because your team will inevitably do half of what you do. Because if they view you as the leader, they do not view that they can do the same work ethic that you can do. So if you want them doing 5, you have to do 10. That's just the way it works. And that's for the people, you know, we talked about the scale of 27, 60, 10, and 3. That's for the scale in the middle. If you want them any activity at all, you have to do twice as much. So that's why people are like, well, how many should I do? I said, well, there's how many you want to do and where you want to get to, but there's also what do you want your team to do? That's a whole nother conversation for people once we kind of get to that point, once they have people on their team, right? First of all, you have to get people on your team. Then once you have people on your team, you have to know what to do. So there's a different level. We used to say there's a different devil for every level. Something new to learn, some new lesson that'll, you know, kind of get at you. So number 3, live your message. Number 4, go where they are. Go where they are. You have to start where they're at, not take them to your level real fast. Go where they are. If they're babies, if they're new, you cannot give them PhD, doctorate, how this works. There's no reason to sit down and describe the $1 million bonus to somebody who has never done, you know, one sale. That's irrelevant. You know, in 10 years, you can get this bonus. Well, that's really not going to help them right now. We need to stick to the basics and keep it short, to the point. Focus on them, not you. I think we hit that. It's an 80-20 rule. 80% find out about them, 20% reveal a little bit about how you are and how you see things. Number 6, believe in them. That's a missing element, period, in life. You know, just believe in them. And number 7, offer direction and hope. Offer direction and hope. They say, Ken Blanchard's book, Leading at a Higher Level, he said, in the beginning, new people need direction, exact, specific directions, and they need a ton of belief from whoever is teaching them this, that they can accomplish it and do it. And I think that's a great lesson for direct sales. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Bess and get her insights on the law of connection. Are you there? Take it away. Bess, that's you. Guys, we're getting in touch. Bess, can you hear me on this end?
Can you hear me okay?
Yep, there you go.
I think that the internet connection is struggling on this lesson about connection.
Okay.
I'll wait a moment until I can hear you again.
No, I'm turning it over to you.
Okay. Can you hear me, Jeff?
I can.
Maybe you could type yes. I'll go ahead and speak. My internet connection, or the internet connection, seems to be struggling today. Very interesting on this lesson about connection. But I'll go ahead and speak here. Thank you for all of that, because I never tire of hearing that it's not about me. I seem to need to keep hearing that and remembering that. So thank you for that reminder. I could hear that once an hour, I think. Thank you, everybody, for all the likes and loves. If you've got value, hopefully this is something that you would like to share with people. I'd like to say hi to Lucy, Margie, Andrea, Becky, Tamara, Aviva, Cindy, Jenna, and Don Fela, the grandfather of network marketing, has hopped on here. Don wrote the 45-second presentation book, and it's about connecting with people too. I brought Charlie on today because he is definitely a connector of the heart. He's hung on all this time waiting to say hello again. Yeah, he doesn't really love cameras. He says, those darn paparazzi, he says. But he definitely opens my heart. He asks for love, but he also gives love. And he teaches me about how to connect properly. Like, I will be at the computer and busy and everything, and he'll say, hey, we haven't, hugged and talked for a while. So I just love the sweetness that's between us when I just feel his presence and the love that goes back and forth between us, and it really nourishes us both. So he'll the computer. So Charlie will come around to me when I'm on the computer, and he'll say, hey, it's been a while, and want to be held in my lap. So I hold him in my lap. And if I'm half distracted, like if I'm half answering somebody or trying to follow up with a thought that I just started on the computer, then he'll go down. He'll say, well, it looks like you're not going to give me your 100% connection. So I'll wait till you can. I'll come back. I'll wait till you can. So he's kind of, a good teacher about that. If you're not ready to 100% connect with me, let's try later. So that's one of the things that he's taught me about that. Emotional connection is emotions, and the heart is how we connect with people, as Jeff was saying. So when we are talking with people, are we warm or are we distant? Are we approachable and vulnerable, or are we intimidating? How much are we in our heart? One example of this, and that I know and love, is Tom Chenault. And he is very, very vulnerable. He tells on himself all the time. And he's very approachable. People just feel very, very comfortable with him. And he can ask the questions in his coffee shop interview. Also, Tom Chenault's very, his method of asking people and getting to know people, just like Jeff was saying, well, what do you know about that person? So Tom does this in his coffee shop interviews, very similar to the FORD method, and very similar to my book, Always Get a Yes, which contains scripts that help people with all these things, connecting with people. So that's what my Always Get a Yes book is about, and Jeff has contributed the first part of that, which is very, very wonderful scripts to work with people. Just if you're a speaker, here's a little tip for if you're a speaker. My spiritual teacher, when he first became the spiritual leader of our group, he was speaking for the first time in front of thousands of people, and he was scheduled to go on, and he was nervous. And his little daughter, who was just a few years old, she said, this wisdom came through his daughter for him, and she said, "Daddy, it's just you speaking to one person at a time." And so that's a tip for speakers to connect with the audience and be personable and make a good connection from the heart. One of our members in the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show Facebook group, John Stokes, posted the difference between a boss and a leader. And I just love this. I'll repost it. That a boss demands, a leader coaches. A boss relies on authority. A leader relies on goodwill. A boss issues ultimatums. A leader generates enthusiasm. A boss says I. A leader says we. A boss uses people. I mean, not all bosses, of course, but let's say if a boss. A boss uses people. A leader develops people. A boss, or bossy person, takes credit. A leader gives credit. A boss places blame. A leader accepts blame. A boss says go. A leader says let's go. So
Bess, we lost you. Hello, hello. Guys, we seem to have lost connection for the moment. Where it goes through actually the entire, the difference between a leader and a boss. Really good to evaluate your situation. So what we're going to do is go ahead and wrap up because we have lost connection. We'll see if Bess comes back on here real quick. But please like, please share, please connect with us if you can online. Get this to somebody who needs it. If you got value out of this, please, let us know. You can go in the comments. Let us know what was your biggest takeaway. Bess asked you that at the very beginning. What was your biggest takeaway from this particular lesson or any lesson? And if anybody has any questions right now, we'll take some comments. If Bess wants to jump back on, hopefully her connection will reset. Sometimes on your phone, guys talk about connection. I found that if you're using your Wi-Fi is usually the strongest thing you have, you know, on your phone. If you try to do Wi-Fi and or your phone, what will happen is it'll try to bounce back and forth between the two. So that's just kind of a lesson that I had about connection. I had to turn off my Wi-Fi anytime I went to do any presentation like this because the phone signal is actually stronger. It'll pull from one source, one place. So that's kind of nice to know. Um, just because if you do Facebook Lives or you do recordings on your phone and you want people to connect with them, it was good to find out that after a while. I asked one of my friends that works at AT&T. I'm sure Sprint works pretty much the same because I had Sprint for years. Got rid of them because they didn't connect. I'm just kind of kidding, not really. So with that being said, the law of connection is important. Is it the most important? It's one of the most important. But here's the thing, you have to be able to communicate well with yourself to be able to connect with everybody else. Connection definitely comes through pets, yes. You know, for sure people do connect with pets. I didn't realize how many people had pets. I looked this up. How many people have dogs? How many people have cats? How many people have birds? How many people have fish? It was amazing to know those numbers. Talk about connecting with people, being able to talk on the same level. It's pretty amazing. So with that, guys, this is today's lesson, the law of connection. This is Friday. As always, we will join you Monday through Friday. Takeaway. Who are you talking to? Yep. Who exactly are you talking to? What are their personalities? Becky's got that right. So Monday through Friday, we start at noon to 12:30, sometimes 12:45. If we go over, we apologize, but that's kind of the time frame that we're trying to set for what we're doing. So we just appreciate everybody for being on. Again, you can find us on Facebook at the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. Connect with us there, ask questions, make sure. I'm going to see if I can bring Bess on for any closing thoughts, see if this will connect. Hold on one second. But we appreciate everybody for being on for sure. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see if it connects. It says it's connecting. Okay, she's back. Do you want to try to wrap up what you were talking about, and we'll kind of close out from there?
Did you guys hear the boss versus
That's
leader
where we were at.
differences?
You were going through that list.
Great. Okay, so thank you. And like Jeff was speaking about, if anybody is struggling, like we all do, about deserving and trusting ourselves, and you'd like some help with that, please private message me, because that's how one of the ways that I help people. And I love what Julie said. Julie's tip about 3 easy questions to ask people is, you know, what's your favorite movie, your favorite book, or your favorite sports? So really like that. Love to hear any takeaways. Tomorrow, Monday, the inner circle, law of the inner circle. Can't wait to learn more about that. Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome, guys. With that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. It is Friday. So, you know, like, share, connect with somebody online. If you have questions directly for us, you can instant message us. But other than that, we will be on next Monday through Friday to hit this next 11 through 15. Appreciate everybody for being on. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.